So even from a rookie perspective, as I have, it makes sense that sometimes college football players, maybe they're too overhyped. So when they go into the NFL, maybe they flop a bit. And that is what this video is about, I think at least. So let's go and check it out. I don't know if any of these quarterbacks that we have rated so far will be in it, but let us know. And also, please watch the original video. It's a new video from him, so I want him to get the traffic he deserves. So video link is below.
Tanking that may happen. Now that part's serious. There could be multiple teams positioning themselves to get Arch Manning whenever it appears Arch Manning is coming out.
This is just crazy to look back on. Prior to the 2025 college football season,
sorry, that was a bit loud.
Arch Manning was the favorite to go #1 overall in the 2026 NFL.
I recognize that name actually, Manning. So yeah, I have heard of it.
NFL draft according to sportsbooks. This easily makes him the most hyped up quarterback that many of us have ever seen, due to him serving as a backup the last 2 seasons.
You know what? He should have played more, and had he played more, it's very possible that Texas would be the defending champion right now instead of Ohio State.
We saw takes like this all offseason long, yet despite all the hype, it took just a couple weeks for people to start thinking, is Arch Manning even a starting level college quarterback? What's going on, everybody? Today we're going to do a deep dive into a somewhat recent history of college quarterbacks who were extremely hyped up but failed to live up to expectations. Now, with that said, 5-star recruits often fail. In fact, as many of you know from my top 10 videos, it happens all the time. So don't expect to see every 5-star quarterback who was,
like I said, so maybe they fail. Oh, sorry, I'm not gonna interrupt
my top 10 videos. It happens all the time. So don't expect to see every 5-star quarterback who wasn't good in this video. I'll put a few names up on screen of guys who failed to live up to expectations.
Okay, overhyped QB. So these guys won't be in this video. So Dane Christ, Anthony Morelli, Blake Barnett, Gunnar Kiel, Tate Martin. Don't know any of them. Are any of them in the NFL? And that's interesting. Can really a quarterback make or break a team, like they said before Manning started to start for the team?
Expectations that I didn't cover in this video. We're going to be going in chronological order, working our way up to present day with not just Arch Manning, but all the 5-star quarterbacks from his class.
I noticed that I covered his face for half the video. If you can't stand that, I've made a stamp here in the video where you can skip, and then you'll see his face and mine in the bottom, because right now I will be covering him. Sorry about that.
It really makes you wonder how these guys are becoming 5-star recruits and who's grading them. But anyways, right now we are in the midst of the 2025 football season.
Is 5-star recruits the best recruits there are?
And if you're a big-time college football fan, you know that the games are lit. And if you want to go to a game before the season's over, you can do it through today's video sponsor, SeatGeek. The beauty of college football is really being at the games. The atmosphere is unlike any other sport. And after recently moving to... Shout out to SeatGeek for the sponsor. Now let's get back to the video. In 1988, high school phenom Todd Marinovich was featured on the cover of California Magazine with the headline, quote, "Robo QB, the making of a perfect athlete," which detailed the kid's insane upbringing, where his dad was training him since birth to be the perfect quarterback. His dad, Marv, had been an NFL player whose career was harmed by his imperfect training methods. So he went all in for his kid, opening his own athletic research center and applying the knowledge he'd learned on his son. He once said, quote, "How well could a kid develop if you provided him the perfect training environment?" This included stretching his son as a baby, giving him a very strict diet all the way through high school, and he consulted as many as 13 experts on building the perfect training program. A few months after that Robo QB magazine came out, Sports Illustrated did a piece on the young quarterback titled "Bred to be a Superstar." The article declared Marinovich as America's first test tube athlete.
What is going on? Okay, I've never heard of this. Like, the kid was basically like they said, a project. So they I guess they went through all kinds of sports science. I mean, now it's, I guess, a bit more popular to have more data in your sports, but he started stretching his baby. That's crazy. But I guess maybe the dad felt that that's what I was lacking when I played. And that is what maybe would have made me into the star quarterback that I could have been, for instance.
High school, Todd Marinovich was a phenom as America's first test tube athlete. In high school, Todd Marinovich was a phenom, setting the all-time high school passing yard record, and was named the National Player of the Year by multiple media outlets.
Wow.
But once he got to college, things got turbulent. He became the first freshman to start at USC since World War II, and to be honest, his first season was pretty good. However, his play became erratic due to personal difficulties in year 2. In what was expected to be a national title contending team with a Heisman Trophy quarterback, instead USC lost critical games, and the most famous moment for Marinovic during the season was when he got into a yelling match with his coach on national TV.
Oh.
Despite the tough season, Marinovic was still viewed as an NFL quarterback and was selected in round 1 by the Raiders in 1991. But things did not go well. Ultimately, the story of Todd Marinovic is a cautionary tale. He's had a very difficult post-football career with a long string of arrests and long-term substance abuse issues. There's actually a 30 for 30 that was made about him about 15 years ago, and if you haven't seen it, it's worth checking out.
And let me tell you something about Notre Dame. In the next 4 years, they're going to win the national title at least twice, and Ron Paulus will win the Heisman Trophy at least twice.
In 1993...
Okay, so I think we're moving on to the next player. I mean, it's a sad story, right? Because the whole thing that he basically was designed to achieve, become a successful quarterback, it failed. And what do you have to turn to when you have been programmed to do that your whole life? Very, very interesting. I like this guy's style of making videos. I understand why you've been recommending him.
15 years ago, and if you haven't seen it, it's worth checking out.
And let me tell you something about Notre Dame. In the next 4 years, they're going to win the national title at least twice, and Ron Paulus will win the Heisman Trophy
The interviewer is laughing at him. Is that a ridiculous statement?
at least twice.
In 1993, Ron Paulus was supposed to become the best quarterback in Notre Dame history. Notre Dame had been an absolute powerhouse for years, and in 1988, they had won the national championship. And ever since Lou Holtz took over, they had been a consistent top 5 program year in and year out. Considering the magnitude of this program at the time and bringing in this level of a prospect in Ron Paulus, it's safe to say that people thought this team was going to dominate, like you heard. And they did not live up to expectations. Paulus suffered a broken collarbone prior to his freshman season, and once he recovered, he took over as the starter. The
Collarbone is right here, right?
team began as the number 2 team in the AP poll in 1994, and they finished 6-5. Then over the next 3 seasons, Notre Dame was a decent team, but not in national title contention, and Paulus finished his career on an underwhelming note, going 7-6 as a senior with the worst numbers of his career. In the end, he was actually kind of decent. He set the all-time career records for passing yards and touchdowns. However, when you're expected to win multiple national titles and multiple Heismans, it's safe to say that he was overhyped. He went on to go undrafted in 1998, and he would go on to be a practice squad quarterback in the NFL, and he even played in NFL Europe.
What do you think about that one, guys? I mean, it didn't seem like he had an awful career in college. Like he racked up some good numbers. But I guess if you're breaking your collarbone and it's on your throwing side, I mean, that must impact you, right?
Practice
What do you think, guys? I don't know. Is this overhyped, or was it just that one crazy guy who thought that they would win it all?
in the NFL, and he even played in NFL Europe.
And the young man from Danville, California, Kyle Wright. They all say that Kyle Wright demonstrates great leadership characteristics, Gary.
In 2005, Kyle Wright was set to take Miami back to the national championship. In the early 2000s, the University of Miami was peak college football. In 2001, they produced one of, if not the greatest college football team of all time.
Oh.
They went on to win the national championship that year. And in 2002, they got back to the national title, but they lost to Ohio State.
Has anyone ever won it 2 times in a row?
Well, in 2003, Canes fans had to be psyched when they landed the top pro-style quarterback in the country in Kyle Wright. The University of Miami was dubbed Quarterback U at the time, and Wright was possibly going to be the best of all of them. When he finally got his chance to start, he was pretty solid in 2005, leading the ACC in touchdown passes, which ramped up the expectations to another level in 2006. That year, Wright was a preseason Heisman Trophy candidate, and the Canes were expected to be a national title contender. Only that didn't happen. Miami's chances of going back to the national championship were gone by Game 3 after a crushing loss to V-Tech, where Kyle Wright played poorly enough that his own fans booed him. Wright never captured the success he had his first season, and he went on to throw more interceptions than...
Let's take a look at these stats. Okay, maybe it's not worth doing. I thought they would have that specific stat that Gary been talking us about, that quarterback specifically have, that if you're in like the 90s and hundreds, you're really good. I don't think it's this stat. Maybe TD is for touchdown. Maybe.
Touchdowns in his final 2 years as Miami fell into obscurity. In 2007, the team finished 5-7, which was their most losses in a season since the 70s. Wright was not drafted into the NFL. Now, for this next player, when it comes to getting a big lesson in humility and getting served a slice of humble pie, man, there might not be a better example. In 2005, Ryan Perrilloux was seen as the heir apparent to Vince Young at Texas. The high school phenom was expected to keep the Longhorns in national title contention, only it never happened because he changed his mind on signing day and committed to LSU. Infamously,
where did you see that player? I bet he, what do you call it in English? We say maybe juking. He juked the defense
because he changed his mind on signing day and committed to LSU.
Okay,
Infamously, Perrilloux held a press conference when he signed to LSU, and he said that as a true freshman, he was going to win the Heisman Trophy. The following question was saying something along the lines of, they already have Jamarcus Russell, what about him? And Perrilloux responded, Jamarcus who? Well, as a true freshman, he did not win the Heisman Trophy. Yeah. And in year 2, he threw 3 passes all year as the third string quarterback. So safe to say that his first claim did not come true. In year 3, things didn't change all that much. He actually served a suspension for some off the field issues, and he served as the team's backup for the most part. He would see action in a few games that season, which included stepping in for an injured Matt Flynn in the SEC Championship and actually showing promise in that game. However, constant off-the-field issues and violating team rules led Perrilloux to being kicked off the team prior to the 2008 season. After 3 tough seasons at LSU, Perrilloux transferred to lower division Jacksonville State, and there he actually did have some success, but whenever a 5-star recruit has to transfer to a lower division school, it's safe to say that they were overhyped. Perrilloux went undrafted in 2010, and for Texas, it's safe to say that they got the last laugh in the recruiting process because their backup plan for Perrilloux when they recruited him ended up being Colt McCoy. Speaking of Colt McCoy, back in
so that was a new one. So I think I'm getting the point of this video. So I guess they are 5-star prospects when they are in high school, and then when they are signed to college football, that's when it stops. That's what I'm getting so far. Am I right? Let me know.
2010, some of you may remember the national championship where he got injured and backup Garrett Gilbert had to come in versus Alabama in what was basically just about the toughest situation you could ever ask a true freshman backup to try and handle. Although he had some rough turnovers that day, he found his rhythm in the second half, and by the fourth quarter, he was playing well, and he had brought Texas within 3, and they had a chance to go win the game, but they just couldn't get it done. Regardless, Colt McCoy was gone after that season, and people were feeling pretty good about the state of Texas football because when they had gotten Garrett Gilbert out of high school, he was considered one of the greatest quarterbacks in the country. When he was in high school as a sophomore, one coach said that he was the greatest quarterback he had ever seen. And during his recruitment as a senior, Jackie Sherrill, a college coach, said that he was the best quarterback he had seen since Dan Marino. So it's safe to say the bar was pretty high for Garrett Gilbert. Well, Texas began 2010 in the top 5, and after starting 3-0, things completely fell off the rails. The Longhorns finished 5-7, their worst finish in 14 years. Gilbert threw 10 touchdowns and 17 interceptions in a season he and Texas fans were hoping to quickly forget. The game fans probably remember most is when he threw 5 interceptions versus Kansas State. The following year, after a couple of games, Gilbert was demoted to backup, and he would never play at Texas again. He would transfer after the season.
Oh man, do you even see him? Man, I'm so sorry. I've been covering his face the whole time. So sorry about that.
SMU, and for 2 years, he was an up and down starter. Despite not having a great college career, Gilbert still had NFL talent, and he was drafted in the 6th round, and he went on to have a decent career as a backup. And technically, he's a Super Bowl champion because he was the Patriots practice squad quarterback in 2014. In 2005...
Okay, so that's the best career we've seen so far. Is Super Bowl champion and is a backup quarterback in the NFL. I guess that's freaking good.
Mitch Mustain was the most heralded recruit in Arkansas State history. He was so special that not only did he win National Player of the Year, but he was also Scout.com's top high school recruit above guys like Matt Stafford and Tim Tebow. He was such a legend in high school that the mayor of the city he grew up in made December 6th Mitch Mustain Day in the city.
What?
Also, the University of Arkansas hired his high school head coach Gus Malzahn as the new offensive coordinator. Talk about the ultimate recruiting tactic. This definitely influenced Mustain to go to Arkansas, as well as 6 of his high school teammates. He took over as a freshman, and the team was awesome, but it was almost entirely because of their incredible running backs. Mustain wasn't quite the passer the team had hoped. Despite winning all 8 of his starts,
this is copyright.
he was barely averaging over 100 passing yards per game. Then he was benched versus South Carolina and never started again for the program. Instead, head coach Houston Nutt decided...
Can that happen, that you lose your spot and then you can never start again? Is that really what happens?
...to roll with Casey Dick at quarterback. In other words, Nutt chose Dick. Anyways, Mustain chose to leave after the season. Gus Malzahn had found a new school to go to, and Mustain transferred to USC. But after he got to USC, he did not win the team's starting job. He ended up being the third-string quarterback, and just to try to find playing time, he ended up trying out at punter, but he didn't get the full-time gig. Over the 3 years he was at USC, Mustain got very little playtime, and ended up kind of just drifting into obscurity. Meanwhile, the guy who was rated below him, Tim Tebow, had become the craziest story in college football. From 2006 to 2009...
What's that story? Oh, we got it there, yeah.
Tim Tebow had become the craziest story in college football. From 2006 to 2009, Tim Tebow was a sensation at Florida, having won the Heisman Trophy and was a part of 2 national championships.
What is that Heisman Trophy? Let me know. It seems like everyone wants that.
Sensation at Florida.
Maybe best quarterback in the country?
Won the Heisman Trophy and was a part of 2 national championships.
Ooh.
During his dominant reign at Florida, his successor-to-be was also a Florida high school legend, John Brantley. Brantley had won the 2006 Gatorade National Player of the Year. And also, he had broken Tebow's state record for touchdown passes. He arrived at the University of Florida in 2007, and from 2007 through 2009, he was the backup to Tim Tebow, and for those years, there was some serious hype for him as the backup. Phrases like second best quarterback in the conference behind Tebow were thrown around. Well, after Tebow went to the NFL, the Gators began the 2010 season ranked as the number 4 team in the country, with Brantley under center. And after starting 4-0, things turned sour. Florida got crushed by Alabama, then lost to LSU. Then for the 3rd straight week, lost again, this time to Mississippi State on a day they only scored 7 points. Brantley had a rough go at it during these games. He had 0 touchdowns and he threw 4 interceptions. And the team finished 8-5 in the end, and this ended up being Urban Meyer's final season at Florida. 2011 began the Will Muschamp era, and 2011 was brutal. This ended up being their worst season since 2004, and Brantley would finish his career as the guy who did not live up to expectations after the Tebow years. He and Florida fell into obscurity by the end of 2011. In 2013, similar to the Tebow years in Gainesville, the hype at Texas A&M during the Johnny Manziel years were off the charts. And following his departure to the NFL, the Aggies looked to continue their success with Kyle Allen. Allen was a 5-star recruit and the best pro-style quarterback in the country coming out of high school. By all accounts, the transition from Manziel to Allen was going to be legendary. Well, in 2014, he started as the backup to Kenny Hill, but quickly took over the starting job.
Look at that stadium.
He actually had some good moments. Against number 3 Auburn, Allen had 4 touchdowns in what ended up being an upset victory. And for the most part, his freshman year was promising. It wasn't quite the Manziel level of play that we had seen, but there were some things to be hopeful about. However, despite starting 5-0 in 2015, Allen's performance versus Alabama was a brutal reality check for him.
But like, can't you have an off day? It's always like you go 3-0, 4-0, and now 5-0 even, and then you lose once and play horribly, and you never come back.
2015, Allen's performance versus Alabama was a brutal reality check for him and the Aggies. He threw 3 pick sixes in that game. Then later, versus Ole Miss, he completed just 35% of his passes for just 88 yards.
I mean, look at how young they are. They deserve second chances. Am I right or wrong?
Blowout loss. He completed just 35% of his passes for just 88 yards in a blowout loss. Allen was benched and transferred following the season. In fairness to Allen, he suffered an AC sprain against Alabama, and he tried to tough through it, which, looking back, he probably shouldn't have done. And in the end, even after he went to Houston, he just never quite became the quarterback that people thought he was going to be. He only started a handful of games for them after performing poorly in 2017. Perhaps the craziest part of this story is that despite his performance, he still left school early for the NFL, and he went undrafted. And yet, to this day, he is still in the NFL, currently in his 8th season. He's mostly been a backup, but still, it's pretty crazy to go from a 5-star bust to a longtime pro. In 2020,
well done.
Clemson still had Trevor Lawrence leading the way, but they were feeling great.
Trevor Lawrence? Isn't that the guy we watched the other day for Jacksonville? He can't be a flop, right?
In 2020, Clemson still had Trevor Lawrence leading the way, but they were feeling great about who they had as his successor, the former 5-star DJ Uiagalelei. Listed at 6'4" and 245 pounds, DJ got his first action in 2020 when Lawrence ended up testing positive for COVID and was out for a few weeks. And in his absence, DJ performed well. He led a comeback victory versus Boston College, then he threw for over 400 yards and 2 touchdowns versus Notre Dame. So after Lawrence left for the NFL, Clemson was supposed to be great. They were ranked number 3 to start the season, and DJ was going to take over college football. That was the expectation. However, that did not happen. On opening day versus Georgia, DJ played poorly. Clemson ended up losing 10-3, and the only touchdown of the game was a pick 6 thrown by DJ. He went on to throw more interceptions than touchdowns, as Clemson fell out of national title contention after their 3rd loss of the season. In
That was bad. Decent last year, it looks like, at least.
2022, DJ improved, but not enough to hold on to his starting job. He was benched during the ACC championship game and subsequently entered the transfer portal the following day. DJ spent a year at Oregon State, where he did well enough to
Awesome helmet. Look at that.
come back to big-time college football, so he transferred again, this time to Florida State. And Florida State was coming off that season where they had started 13-0 before Jordan Travis's injury. So this team was expected to be good, and they brought in DJ to hopefully keep that train rolling. That did not happen with DJ though. In 5 starts, he struggled mightily, and he ended up being benched, and the team finished 2-10. After he went undrafted and later scored a touchdown in a preseason game, his dad blasted FSU. He reposted a tweet blaming FSU for his son's failures.
Oh, wow.
Now, DJ is on the Chargers practice squad.
Chargers, I think they're in the NFL.
So now we arrive to today, and the current situation that we have with not just Arch Manning, but all of the 5-star quarterbacks from that 2023 high school class. Let's run through all of them really quickly. The number 1 recruit in the country was Malachi Nelson. Nelson ended up throwing 3 passes at USC, then transferred to Boise State, where he served as the backup, and now he's at Utah.
Damn.
The number 2 recruit was Dante Moore. Moore struggled at UCLA, then transferred to Oregon, where he served as Dylan Gabriel's backup, and now he's a starter and actually playing well. The number 3 recruit was Jackson Arnold. Arnold was at Oklahoma for 2 years and ultimately got benched in 2024. He's now at Auburn. And finally, the number 4 quarterback and 5th overall recruit from 2023 was Arch Manning. Despite being the 4th ranked quarterback of that class, Arch is by
Why have I heard of him then?
far and away the most popular. For the previous 2 years, everyone wanted to see this guy play, and every time he got into the game, the crowd went nuts. He actually performed well when filling in for the starter, specifically versus Mississippi State in 2024. But in 2025, the hype clearly was not warranted. Everyone guaranteed this guy was going to be the best quarterback in the country and future number 1 overall pick, but there is some glaring issues in his game currently.
And I just watch Arch, I just go, he doesn't have a great feel for the position. And then his physical attributes aren't great either. So it's like, what's he really doing? And in fairness, he didn't create any of this. It was all the media. The media created this hype because of his name.
People have noted his ugly throwing motion, lack of accuracy, and lack of feel when in the pocket. And it really makes you wonder, Did Steve Sarkisian see this coming over the last 2 years and just couldn't do anything about it? But hey, just because you don't live up to the hype immediately doesn't mean you can't be successful. Look at one of our previous examples, Kyle Allen. He was never as good as he was expected to be in college. And despite that, he has still carved out a long pro career, making millions in the process.
Okay, so first of all, please watch the original video. But that was fun. I like these college football stories. It seems like they have there's some sort of vibe about it. I don't know. I can see why you like the games. I haven't even watched a college football game yet, so I think that's up next to watch the highlights, like we do on the NFL weekly recap that we do. So I think that's up next. Amazing video. Cool to see the players. And like I said, please answer that questions. What is the Heisman Trophy? Why have I heard of that quarterback, Archie Manning? And why, what was it, that you only get one chance to lose one game? You go 3, 4, 5-0, and then you lose. What happens? So, guys, please take care and see you soon.